Um. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it does seem like nothing, but let's just go and increase this again. I'm still considering getting more HP just because everything scales so badly at the moment. Like, it is so trash, but I don't know. I'm just gonna continue with this instead. We didn't rest yet. I really like how the outfit looks, man. It looks really cool from behind, especially. I think it's really cool. Okay, I mean, this might actually be the end of the area, right? Oh, did we forget to go into Umbral here? Right, we weren't in Umbral. I forgot about it. We didn't die here. And there are gonna be so many people missing this if they don't die, end up in Umbral. I mean, the first ones at least. Umbral Scouring. I mean, let's get back out of Umbral, why not? I mean, the game gives us the option to, right? Why not? Yeah, and just recently I tried out Genshin on my new television and it looks amazing, blah blah blah, but fuck the devs for having a static user ID in the bottom right corner that's not even transparent. And it's white at that too, and it's always visible even during loading screens. And then you also have static UI in white, like it's like the burn in the video game, right? Why the fuck would you do that? So I'm never gonna play it actually on my television, even though it looks great, just because I don't want to have burn in just because of Genshin. So it's gonna be something I will probably be permanently playing on my well, C screen. And I also had an interesting well, I did an interesting research a little bit into it, and Artings, I don't know if you pronounce them like that, they do a lot of television tests, and they did a long-term, or are still doing a long-term test for televisions. And the most interesting result when it comes to burn-ins and image degradation is basically that... Yeah, the main takeaway basically is that LCDs also have very and even more significant issues with long-term image quality, maybe than even OLEDs for different reasons, which is super weird, right? So in a way, OLEDs maybe might have obvious issues, but LCDs kind of have way more distracting, glaring issues too. So if you want to buy a television for the long run, I wouldn't even say that not getting an OLED is a bad idea, because I think if you have varied content, getting an OLED is fine, from what I can tell from all my research. But if you really want to have only one thing up at all times, probably getting LCD is still better. So yeah, but for general image quality, I think getting an LCD in the long term might even be worse. But I had an LCD for 15 years and I didn't really notice too many issues, but maybe I just had a very high quality panel back then, and it was also a high quality TV. And in general, the quality with the TV correlates to how well the TV does in the long run, usually. But I'm pretty curious to see how long this one is going to last. I hope it's going to be at least 3 years, right? If it does 3 years, I'm going to be happy. If it does 5 years, that's great. If it does 10 years, amazing, but I don't even know if I want to keep it for 10 years. I mean, it's great, right? I'm not going to complain about the visual quality because it looks great, right? But in a way, it's always kind of hard to tell if the television's going to hold up or not. I don't even plan on having it for 15 years anymore, right? It wouldn't be bad as a second screen maybe at some point or something, but yeah, it doesn't have to last for 15 years. It's not like I'm going to be financially impaired, hopefully, by that time. So, yeah, it is not an issue for me. But I really understand if people have financial issue, a limited budget, basically, that they're going to think about getting a television that lasts maybe for 10, 15 years instead. Like I did back then, right? When I didn't have a lot of money. So I actually cared about that a lot. So...
Justin, I'm sorry. This was all my fault. I just wanted things to be better for us. Forgive me. No, get that away from...
I look upon you with
pity, my lost child. For you have been deceived and enslaved by forces who regard you as nothing more than an instrument through which they might enact their blasphemous will and prevent my rightful return. They speak of light while offering you nothing but blindness. Weak hypocrites relying on the malignant power of Umbral. With one breath, then decrying it with another.
Okay.
They brand me evil, a tyrant, and yet I offer you something they will not. A choice. Reject the fanatical crusaders and the deranged servants of the self-proclaimed judge. Dismiss all of their false dogma and the torturous mission to which they have bound you. And only then will you know freedom. And if you would hear it, the truth.
Okay, so basically we're gonna have a choice here, I guess. That's what he's trying to tell us. I'm very likely to not side with him. I mean, look at him, right? Does he look like somebody who's gonna bring joy and peace to everybody? I mean, you don't need to be Sherlock Holmes to see that, right? So no matter what the others are doing, I think that this guy is going to be worse. Enter the Rogar realm. Sure, I mean... It didn't tell us to side with him, right? I just want to see what's inside. Maybe that was a decision. Maybe we just sided with him, but you know, I'm just curious to see what's inside. Yeah, cool particles effects here. Yeah, so I don't think this was a choice. This is basically... Maybe this is mandatory. I don't remember if we actually went through the big gate yet. Okay. Interesting. Can we leave again here? Or is this a one-way thing? Okay, it seems to be a one-way thing. I mean, there should have been a portal back, so what did I expect? This looks really cool. Wait, is it a boss fight now? Wait, really? Oh my god, this looks like a gimmicky shit boss.
Why do you refuse to open your eyes to their manipulations? To millennia of shameful distortions of the truth? For eons, I stood as mankind's guardian, shepherding them with wisdom and love.
When did I renounce him?
I was betrayed. Those three power-hungry malefactors who declared themselves judges turned my own children against me.
Oh my god, this
Waged a
is...
terrible war of needless slaughter.
Okay, this is basically a total gimmick boss, and we're gonna have to find out what the gimmick is actually here.
Judges and their crazed followers butchered those who remained loyal to me.
But this seems to be dealing damage to him, so...
To put an end to
Maybe not, maybe I'm just... Oh, I think it's the one with the red thing under them that actually does damage to him.
even I fell. Although
Yeah, I think these ones are the ones we need to kill to get the...
despite their best efforts.
Yeah, I don't want to heal it just yet, but...
In a world left blackened and corpse-choked by their crusade, the judges banished me to this barren ground.
Yeah, so this is more of a endurance fight, I would assume.
Ever since,
Maybe take damage while going in there? Why?
set about ruling themselves, free from the divine.
Okay, we can't kill those
which
guys.
accused me.
Wait, why do we take damage while fighting them? That's kind of stupid as fuck, to be honest.
Themselves were raised to the status of
Okay, and then the soul goes somewhere else, and...
real ambition.
Okay, this is basically Umbral of the Deep, right? Just with more active
For deluded
parts.
themselves into believing the
Okay, so it is smart to destroy the ones we see here.
their names since my
Wait,
banishment.
what the fuck? What did I just hit, right? Makes 0 sense, actually. But what I'm trying to do here is to not go into the stuff that's under them.
And now, after all the time mankind have had to shape their own
I
destiny,
mean, what we could do too is just pull them out of it, right, like this. They don't have a lot of HP, so it should be fine.
chaos. They believed they were capable,
And I really hate that you get punished here as a melee character.
sorely mistaken. Mankind needs me now more than ever.
Yeah, do I like how the boss is designed when it comes to how you take damage? Definitely no.
Other beings who claim godhood, where are they? What of Aureus and the abhorrent umbral creature?
What?
Cowards.
Can you please explain what happens when we do this attack towards them?
Unworthy of their presence, their communion.
Yeah, this is super annoying as a melee character.
With true words and open arms. For I love all of my children.
Yeah, fuck you too, bitch. What a boring boss fight so far. I'm not gonna lie, it's annoying and boring because of the fire under these guys.
Listen to me. You must
I think he's gonna have a phase 2, and it's gonna be super annoying to get back to, so I'm already kind of pissed.
fidelity. I am not your enemy. Only what my own
Can you fuck off?
the loss of the dominion they have established for themselves.
So we almost died there, but just because the game really is fucking annoying when it comes to these things.
You are in the presence
Oh shit, he did it again.
of your God. I formed you from nothing.
Man, so annoying.
To destroy you. Yet you would dare defy my will.
I don't know, it's bugged as fuck.
The world in which you exist is my world, my home, and yet mankind. I
Okay.
look upon you with pity, my lost child. For you have
Yeah,
been
yeah, shut the
deceived
fuck up and die.
and enslaved by forces who regard you as nothing more than an instrument through which they might enact their blasphemous will and prevent my rightful return.
Okay. I mean, is he ever gonna shut up, or... What we can do here, we have so many of this. Let's just use this a little bit. I don't know, man. What a fucking shit boss. I mean, he didn't have any weird thing, right? There was no attack patterns. It was always the same idea, just more of the same enemy, kinda. Where did it just get fucking... The light of the umbral lamp knows no satiation. consuming even a god. Aureus will be done by his heresy tainted champion, rewarded only with annihilation. With renewed influence, Aureus unleashes his radiance to purify those deemed transgressors. I can't even talk today, I'm sorry. In light, they fall. No way. Wow, that was the worst final boss I think I've seen in a Souls-like so far. And not in a video game, there are a lot of shit final bosses, so I'm not ever gonna talk about that, but we didn't even check the remembrance, right? That was kind of surprising, because I didn't remember if we went through the one door to get through the castle, but I think we did, but I can't remember, so maybe we did. Yeah, at the end of the game, as always, we're going to talk about it, the quality of it, and everything. So I'm going to give the game an 8 out of 10. Up front, I'm going to say that. I gave Lies of P a 7 out of 10. I gave Elden Ring an 8 out of 10. And Elden Ring basically has... I think it's very hard to compare the scores I'm giving here directly, even though I'm giving them. Because Elden Ring came from a perspective of... knowing it was made by the guy who made Sekiro, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, right? I had a different expectation of From Software, so I judged them a little bit different. And when I look at the overall fun I had, I must say that it was kind of similar, right? Elden Ring for me, up to the Golden Capital and the first real like half of the game, for me was a 10 out of 10, for sure. But then later on, significant balancing issues came and a lot of design decisions weren't good and a lot of shit happened. If you care about that, you can watch the Elden Ring playthrough or just skip through it and maybe until the end. So I'm going to not going to elaborate on all the issues Elden Ring had. So I'm going to talk about this game a bit, but just so you know why Elden Ring was an 8 out of 10. For me, Sekiro was a 10 out of 10. Bloodborne was probably also very close to a 10 out of 10 for me. Dark Souls 3 was a 9 out of 10. Etc, right? So, and Lies of P was a 7 out of 10, just for recent context. Okay, so, first, what did I like about the game? I like the visuals. The game looks really good. Maybe not as varied in biome, right? It is maybe a bit, the color tone is maybe a bit similar in some areas, but still overall the visual quality, the asset quality, etc. It really leverages the Unreal Engine 5 to create a very, very pretty game. It's probably the prettiest Souls-like from a technical perspective that I at least know of. Okay, so basically very pretty, but also very demanding on the hardware, but it's kind of to be expected when it comes to what visuals are on screen. Does that mean the visuals are way better than anything that has been there before? From a technical perspective, it is very next-gen-y, but you could argue that last gen already looked very pleasing to the human eye, so in many circumstances, Elden Ring, for example, also looked very, very pretty. So I don't think it's that much of a leap anymore, but that's just how graphics evolve, right? We have learned to very much leverage the tool, and we're coming closer, of course, to photorealism and all that stuff, but the steps are getting smaller and smaller. That's just how it is, right? You can't make it prettier than prettier, right? If it's pretty, it's pretty. So yeah, the generational leaps are big, but the perceived visual quality probably is kind of not really stagnating, but not as impressive in your recollection, right? If you think about Mario 64, for example, and you remember it, it's going to be kind of like Mario Odyssey in your head or something like that. So in a way, your brain doesn't really appreciate all the new stuff as much as it maybe did before. So this game compared to Elden Ring, I would say for most people, it's going to be a visual pretty equal, and a lot of people are going to prefer the art style of Elden Ring. So that's also an aspect. And Lies of P, a great example. Lies of P, one generation behind technically compared to this game, but a very strong visual art that I think a lot of people are going to enjoy more than the visual art style of this game. What else did I like? I liked the umbral mechanic. I did not like how it was executed control-wise. I think they did a few issues there, right? And the range of the lamp was sometimes too short. And sometimes also, I think that the suck-in mechanic should have been automatic for the souls, an additional button press, which in my opinion wasn't needed. They could have implemented a bit more maybe dynamic design with it when it comes to combat, like more enemies that need to be stunned with looking by looking at them with the lamp or something like that. A bit maybe like Alan Wake did or something like that, or maybe like the UV light in zombie games or something works, but they didn't do that much with that. But where they did a lot was in level design, right? The biggest strength of the game is, I think, how combat feels against normal enemies. It feels really good, fluid, and responsive. And the levels are really, really intricate, and there are a lot of different paths you can take, and it just doesn't feel linear. Like compared to Lies of P, this is way better. Of course, it's not Elden Ring, right? Elden Ring is an open world game and also had very, very extensive dungeons, like for example the first castle and stuff like that. I mean, it does come close to the first castle, but it never feels as free to explore as Elden Ring, for example. But it feels way, 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 way better. It's definitely one of the best Souls-likes when it comes to how the levels are designed, right? So for me, and no Persona 5 at the moment, sorry, but maybe very soon, because I think we're coming close to the winter Christmas gap that's basically going to happen in December. A lot of games release now, not so many release in December anymore. And in January, maybe until end of January, there's going to be a little gap maybe, where you can maybe catch up with stuff and maybe even find time to reopen the longer games. Yeah, but in general, the arm roll mechanic, how it was executed, how the level design interacted with it, the regeneration mechanic of your HP, the withered health was really, really smart. The best, in my opinion, the best way to do regenerative health I've seen so far in a Souls-like. And really brilliant idea there. I think really, really well executed, and not perfectly, but well executed, and really great impact with the game. Really, it's what basically makes the game, in my opinion, a good game, right? A good game. The combination of great combat, level design, and the cool armor mechanic. On the not so great side, unfortunately, a little bit the repetitiveness of the enemies, not enough enemy types, so the enemy variety, and especially reusing mini bosses as enemies, not a bad thing inherently, but not enough enemies, right? They needed more enemy types to really, because the length was really long, right? I think it was a tad too long for what they had in game when it comes to enemies, so I think a bit shorter would have been better, maybe. But yeah, it also has a lot of different playstyles, blah, blah, but not so great. Definitely the bosses, right? The bosses were kind of very mid, I would call them, right? They're not necessarily badly designed, right? Some of them were fun, some of them were not so fun, but most of them were very easy. But that's basically because the game has a very different approach to difficulty than, for example, Lies of P. Lies of P is a super react, wait and learn game where you really need to learn the attacks, and it inputs reads like hell. It tries to fuck you over every time. And this game is more like a Dark Souls 2.5, where we still have bosses that don't go like, I'm gonna hit you, oh no, I'm gonna hit you, oh no, right? They're not doing that. So they're just playing they're just normal people fighting, right? It's not like somebody that's just trying to mind game you the entire time. So in my opinion, that's feels better to play, but I think they could still have done with a little bit more challenging bosses that don't get too annoying or something, right? The game also has the issue that basically the visual design is a bit like a few things I also criticize in Elden Ring. A few bosses had a visual overload. There weren't that many in Elden Ring, but in this game towards the end, the game kind of, for whatever reason, thought it was a great idea to have a lot of ground explosions and particles, and you can't see shit anymore, right? It just makes the game feel so unprecise and random at times. And I mean, that's coming from somebody who almost, I would say, let's say, maybe that's an assumption, maybe 80 to 90% of the bosses were first tried by us, so and then most were second tried, if not first tried, and a very few maybe came even close to 10 deaths, but I don't think a single one actually did, but I might be wrong about that. Maybe one did, I can't really remember. Notably so, the first boss was kind of tough, the angel, just because her attack patterns looked like ass. And oh yeah, Janine's back, I have to open the door. But in general, I think the game is good, right? It's fun to play, has great strengths, but also weaknesses. So definitely not a perfect game, but I think definitely a game you should check out if you like exploring and killing normal mobs. But if you don't care too much about bosses, that will really challenge you, right? If you're a seasoned player. But we need to think. It also has PvP, different classes. For example, here we unlock something, but I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. Okay. So that's basically my recap of the game. Good game, not perfect, but definitely something you can check out. I liked it better than Lies of P. In an ideal world, we would have Lies of P quality of bosses with the game design of this game. There would have been a Bloodborne 2, because this game, let's be real about it, it's probably the closest you're going to get to a Bloodborne 2 gameplay-wise at the moment. This is basically more Bloodborne than any other Souls-like I've played so far, beyond Bloodborne. So definitely very, very cool in that regard. Also has different playstyle, right? You can block, you can have you have magic, ranged attacks, all that stuff. But the final boss, for example, the bosses were shit, right? They didn't look bad necessarily, were maybe not that interesting. I think the boss before the final boss was pretty cool, but the final boss was like, I don't even know, it was Beacons of the Deep, right? One of the memeiest bosses in Souls history, and even that it was more epic than this, right? So I don't know, it was just kind of, I don't know, the bosses are just kind of super mid, unfortunately. So for part 2, Lords of the Fallen 3, what would I want from the game, or Lords of the Fallen 2 in this case? I mean, it's the second game, but they call it I know where they call it like that, but still, the second game. And next game, better bosses, right? That's the main thing. More enemy variety, more visual distinction in Umbral, if you want to use the Umbral mechanic, and I hope they do, because it's a great mechanic. But more creativity there, maybe a bit more, maybe interactive, a bit more interactive, right? More elements which are cool. Also more fast and fluid interaction, like not the slow poly stuff. I know why they did it, but sometimes, right, they didn't need to do it as clunky, right? So a bit less jank there. Okay, and this is a new class. It's called a Radiant Purifier. I mean, it looks way cool, way less cool than we currently do. So I mean, unless we like it, of course. Yeah. So we got a new class here. We could go with New Game Plus, but we're not going to play New Game Plus, so that's for sure, and it's something we're not going to do. I'm just going to go with Continue Current Journey. Because we can go New Game Plus at whatever time we want. Was soll ich meine Rüstung gesehen, Muffin? Ich habe sie jetzt auch geschickt, aber guck mal. Das ist cool, oder? Ich habe das Spiel jetzt durch. Ja, hab beide letzten Bosse gefirst-tried. Der letzte Boss war aber ein absoluter Witz. Ja, super einfach. Like, ich weiß nicht was, das war nicht mal ein Boss, das war irgendwie komplett, ich weiß nicht, über Clusterfuck. You know what? Actually, brilliant decision to use the additional heals, because we didn't need them for the last boss, so actually perfectly played here on my end, using every resource to the limit. Of course, I know we forgot about this mechanic during the boss fight, but yeah, you know, it is what it is. Also has PvP, full co-op, session-based, not like Elden Ring or Souls games, which could be a huge plus, depending on how it works. I never tried it, but I could imagine this is maybe in one of the premier cooperative Souls-like, right? We're coming close to the 1-year anniversary of you dropping Persona Aus at the end. That would be a good. Do you remember the exact date by chance? Yeah, but just in time for RoboQuest, the DLC and the finale of Cyberpunk, which is coming up now. I think like we're gonna focus on Alan Wake 2 and Cyberpunk and RoboQuest for the time being. Cyberpunk should be relatively easy to finish, I think. I mean, time-wise. Alan Wake 2, I have no idea. Probably also not the super longest game. But these are basically the three games we're going to play. It's a bit shooter heavy, unfortunately, but I'm pretty sure we're going to find other games we're going to mix in with those. But I really want to finish Cyberpunk ASAP so I don't drop that too. And yeah, but these are all games that aren't as, you know, bad if you drop them. If you drop this game, you don't remember where to go, you're fucked, right? But in Cyberpunk, you have quest markers, the gameplay loop is pretty simple. Alan Wake 2 is story-based, so we probably want to, you know, not wait too long so we don't forget stuff. But I still think Cyberpunk is pretty nice in that regard. That's one of the reasons why Persona 5 is a bit more intensive to pick up, because we really need to look what we did back then. We need to find out what the skills were, what our mindset was, right? It's a bit bad that we actually ever dropped it. We should never have dropped it. That was a big mistake. How far am I in Cyberpunk? I think I'm close to the end of the main game, and since I never finished it, I'm going to finish that one first. And I know that the DLC basically is an alternate ending, so we're gonna play the ending, maybe a few more side quests, not many, and then we're gonna go back towards playing the DLC basically, which we already started. So the DLC basically we started it to get the skill tree basically, because I wanted to have that during my playthrough. Yeah, I skipped the whole DLC. Basically, at the moment, I skipped it because I knew that the DLC was basically something you should do. Not sure you can do after playing the main game, right? The game is just gonna drop you back in, then you can go do the alternate ending, the DLC offers afterwards. Yeah. Yeah, I started it just to get the abilities, right? Because I didn't want to play the entire game without having the additional skill tree. But otherwise, I didn't really interact too much with it, right? We had also the cars unlocked you can get and stuff like that. Yeah, but I'm definitely gonna play the DLC basically after finishing the main game, because I really want to finish the story first the way it was initially intended, and then we're gonna look. I mean, we're gonna get one ending. I don't know how many endings there are, but yeah, that's basically the idea. Okay, and also, like I said, the game here, a lot of playstyles, really fun to play, but we are not gonna invest more time into it just because, I mean, like I always said, if I only had this game, would I do another run? For sure, right? There are so many weapons, right? We've used a dual-wielding spear. You could even go with the spear. You can use it two-handed. You can use it single-handed with a shield. You can use any of the weapons we collected, right? You could go with all of these and try them out if you want to. There are a lot. You can go with sword and board, maybe even double shield. I don't know. You can go range. You can go magic. And we don't have a lot of spells because we didn't buy them. There are so many different armor sets too, different classes you can start with, New Game Plus, PvP, co-op. There is just so much in the game. Covenants. It's just chock full of gameplay styles. And you have changed. There's so many cool things, right? Lies of P and this together have a lot of cool additions. Sure, both of them have also missions from quality of life improvements from other previous games, but in general, right, I think the Souls genre slowly starts to get a lot of quality of life stuff it always needed with every additional game. And yeah, and it's also much closer to what a Souls traditional Souls game is than Lies of P, right? Lies of P is more like a Sekiro spin-off in my opinion. If you don't start the DLC, it actually skips and locks you out. That's so wild. Really? But you can't go back to your old save and play the DLC? That's really hard to imagine that they would make such a blunder. So you can't go with your old pre-ending save file and just start the DLC? That would be really dumb. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised by stupidity, but that would be insanely dumb. Especially because I don't feel like the DLC has so much impact when it comes to the main game so far. Really? I thought it was like available starting at chapter X, and you could always go back and just start it when you want to. But I also noticed, wait, you could actually, as far as I know, fuck up starting the DLC, right? You could just go there, and then you could not do what she wants from you. And then she's like, yeah, fuck you, and then the president is dead and whatever. Right? So you can't even fuck up starting the DLC as far as I know. Yeah, that's really dumb. Back then I also thought it was a terrible idea. Because the game basically locked me into starting the DLC, which in hindsight might be good, right? Because I got the skill tree and everything. But that's really dumb. Yeah. Wow, that's really stupid that they put that on a timer, because usually no quest in the game, even though the game often gives you the impression, doesn't really have timers for events, right? A lot of events in the game are basically just the ending locks you out of stuff, but everything else seems to be very limited into when it comes to time-based stuff, right? Some things might seem like you missed an opportunity or something, but basically it was just the game waiting a few days until something happens. But that's really dumb to hear. Yeah, I don't know why they would ever do it like that. I mean, there might be some logical story and game design reasons behind it, but whatever they are, they should have done it differently. It is a terrible idea, because a lot of people are going to have a fleshed out character they want to do the DLC with, right? I mean, I would say that's even the most common use case for the DLC, that either you start a new game or you play the character you already played before. I mean, is it bad playing the game again? No, because it has a lot of improvements. It's not a radically different game, but I guess it's worth playing again in most cases. But I still think it is a stupid design decision not to enable old characters to play the DLC. Unless you want to go back with your save. Yeah, but I still think the fact, I mean, that's cool if you know it, right? But it's always terrible design to have people guess stuff, right? Or just get lucky, right? I got lucky now. But it could also have ended up being an Elden Ring moment where you just go through a door and suddenly the game's like, oh, by the way, fuck everything else you did, right? So you should always clearly communicate that with your player. Just put a pop-up there and tell the player, hey, now if you don't do this, you're gonna be fucked, right? Just tell the player before it happens, hey, this is your last chance, confirm, are you sure, and make it hold, make it double confirm, whatever. Are you sure you don't want to start the DLC? It will be not available, whatever. So I think so I think that's really not good design, but we're gonna see. Hopefully we are able to access it, even though we're gonna finish the game first. But yeah. But that's going to be probably for tomorrow, because today I'm going to spend the rest of the day with Janine, because she is going to go away for 6 days starting tomorrow. Is it 6 or 5? I can't count. I think 5 days. Yeah, so today is Janine, and tomorrow probably is going to be a RoboQuest into either Alan Wake or the ending of Cyberpunk. So yeah, since we already started Alan Wake, also kind of on our schedule here. To be fair, someone keeps calling you like 20 or 30 times until locks you out, and she's desperate, keeps telling you Mars will die if she doesn't go. Yeah, okay, I mean, yeah, even if they are pushy, it's not that bad as long as they tell you you've been locked out, right? So the moment she tells you, hey, the president said you fucked it, usually you have a save like not too long ago, right? So most people will probably go back a little bit and then do it. That's also fine. Yeah, at least they talk to you, right? So it's okay if it doesn't really happen in the background without you knowing it, right? What would be fucked is she calls you, oh, you have to really have to go, then she doesn't call you for like, I don't know, a few hours of game time, and then she's like, oh, by the way, he's dead, and then you're like, oh shit, I can't go back anymore, and they locked you out like 5 hours ago or something. That would be really shitty. You can access it when you finish the game. It just puts you before the ending, since there's no new Human Plus. Yeah, that's what I expected. Yeah. Okay, so I mean that's kind of okay, I guess. But from a perspective, of course, of a character that finished the game before the DLC, it's of course not okay, right? That's kind of stupid. It basically makes one of the main use cases for the DLC irrelevant. You can't really play your original Vi in the DLC unless you want to roll back your saves. Yeah, which you might not even have, right? Not everybody has saves at all times, so yeah, kind of unfortunate for certain circumstances. For us, I guess we either got lucky or I mean, I also researched it a little bit, but I didn't do it in too much detail, obviously, because I didn't want to get spoiled. But I was kind of, curious to see how that works, because I was worried the game was going to lock us out or something, but I didn't start because of that. I just was curious about if the DLC locks me into a different ending, right? I wanted to know before I start the DLC, will I be able to still finish the game normally? And since the answer was yes, I just got the skill trees and then said, hey, yep, fuck the DLC until I finish the game. But however, whatever the case, this is the stream for today. We finished Lords of the Fallen, 8 out of 10, good game. would recommend if you played all the better Souls-likes before. Like, as always, that's my answer. If you didn't play all the better ones, there are a few reasons which would make this the main choice. The main reason would be, for example, you want to play in co-op and don't want to have a shit experience, or maybe you're not on PC, can't get the Elden Ring co-op stuff, and even that is still super scuffed. And yeah, that would be one of the reasons. Or you really like the Umbral mechanic and the pressure it puts on you while exploring, then this is also the only game that offers that. But if you just want to have a good Souls game, and depending on what type of player you are, maybe you are super into cheese or whatever, go Elden Ring, right? You can cheese everything, you can get easy mode. Or if you really want to start off slow, you can just go Dark Souls 1, 2, 3. Right, they ramp up in difficulty a little bit, so it's very much a better entry point in my opinion. So yeah, if you didn't play those maybe first. There are lots, Sekiro 2, Bloodborne, whatever, a ton of games, but if you played all of those, this is definitely a game you can play, or if you like co-op or whatever. Okay, but as always, thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you tomorrow for definitely RoboQuest. Version 1.0, French developer, I didn't know, that's why I'm kind of putting a little bit of emphasis on it. They're French, I'm half French, so it's basically partially a home country for